What? Yeah. No, I'm behaving myself. No, I'm not playing in abandoned buildings. What? Again? Now, I suppose you had those people follow me again. Fine. Hey, this is Jimmy Farrow from Monty and the Pharaoh, and I want to thank all our subscribers. We have now passed 14,000 on our YouTube channel. But I want to ask our subscribers to take the next step for us and become a full-fledged member of Monty and the Pharaoh. Yeah, that's right, folks. There's 3 different levels to choose from. There's free shirts. There's free autographs. Just check it out and become a member of Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh. Later.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty the Pharaoh, filmed out of Indie Music TV, here out of Ronkonkoma, Long Island. At the board, week 3. Week 3.
Are you saying I'm weak?
No, he's saying, what's up, newbie?
Newbie.
But I'm saying it's week 3. And
Week 3.
You're getting better every week. It's
Yes.
getting better every day, like that Chicago song, right?
Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better.
Like the Chicago song?
Yeah.
Feeling stronger every day? They don't say feeling better. Feeling better.
This Pharaoh's got to
They don't
correct me
say
on
that.
my
They
title of the song.
Feeling stronger.
Unbelievable.
Well,
The
the
music
Beatles
guy
said
knows.
it's getting better all the time. That's a different story.
Are you done?
No. And I don't know if Jeff is. He's reaching for a microphone.
Wow.
Dunn was the high school principal, don't you remember? Or was that junior high?
Do you think the fans miss Matty Ice?
I don't know what they're seeing. It all depends on what they're seeing. Our
Check the
television is
feedback.
out. We can't even see what our fans are seeing.
The feedback is yes, we miss Matty. Sorry.
Oh, this
that's
is
sad.
really
Too bad. Anyway, fugitive wanted for raping twin
Am I
4-year.
done?
Are you paying attention?
Yeah, there's a fugitive. What did he do?
He raped 2 4-year-old
Dude, why
girls.
why do you tell me this shit?
Nabbed hours after assaulting cops trying to arrest him in NYC.
Just going to turn the script
The
upside
2
down.
injured officers who were part of the regional fugitive task force were treated for minor injuries after their clash with Isaiah Metz,
Isaiah Metz.
like the New York Mets
With
with
a
a
Z.
Z.
With a Z.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Then went back to work. They helped arrest the 22-year-old suspect at a homeless shelter in Yonkers just 11 p.m. on Tuesday. Metz is accused of raping twin 4-year-old girls in Goldboro, Pennsylvania on March 30th, according to documents. Thoughts on Mr. Metz?
Why do you do this to me every week? You come up with a scumbag from hell.
I think the world should know about scumbags.
This is a scumbag from hell. I mean, what do I think they should do to him? You know how I feel about these sorts of things. Live castration on pay-per-view. Fair? I think our esteemed guest, who the fans will see shortly, agrees. That's fair.
I just want to.
Who does this to 4-year-old twins?
Well,
What the?
that's my point. Like, who
on,
would
man.
do that?
This
Like,
is
what
sick.
are you thinking about?
What is he thinking about? I don't know what he's thinking about. He's
All right,
insane.
Let's lighten up the mood.
Lighten
up
mood.
the mood. Ready?
Okay, fine.
Man stacks 7 M&Ms of a tower for Guinness Book World Record.
What? Wait, now I don't understand. 7 M&Ms?
Yeah, he stacked them.
What do you mean? Like the candy?
Yeah, round candies, 7 of them.
He put one on top of another, and he was able to get it to 7 without falling.
And he broke a Guinness Book of World Record.
Wow, that's.
So you don't want to talk about rapists? We'll talk about M&Ms.
I bet you I could stack Reese's Pieces like nobody's business.
Not for a record, but anyway.
Yeah, probably not.
Let's give this
This
guy
is the
credit.
stupidest thing I ever heard of.
Let's give him credit.
What is this?
Ibram Sadiq, I don't even know if I can say it, 29,
Ibrahim
attempted defeat,
Sadiq?
which became unusual competitive Guinness Book of World Record category. So he's the Eminem stack.
He's in the unusually competitive Guinness
You think
category.
that guy goes to bed at night and goes, now I could die?
So wait a
Because
second.
I have the record
You
of
know?
stacking M&Ms.
Hey, who's better than him? But on top of it, though, does that mean like
Who's better
an
than him?
unusual?
Jeff's better than him.
Most likely, an unusually competitive category. Does that mean like the guy who can rip off 47 consecutive farts is in this? Like, is he in this category?
Is that
with
a
this
record?
guy? No,
I'm
seriously.
going to ask our guest after commercial break if that is
47?
possible
Well,
record. 47
he
farts.
remembers Andre. There's a good chance that 47 might be a very small number. So
47 farts is a lot of
that's
farts.
a lot of White Castle.
To the right is the star of the show, Mr. Jimmy Farrow.
Well,
Jimmy, how are you? We'd like to thank the band.
Lovely.
We'd like to
How are
thank
you?
the band that sings the theme song for Monty and Farrow. Our own Jimmy Farrow, along with his partner, Bark Riggs, make up the band Wisteria Hall. Wisteria Hall sings such great songs as In My Dreams, In My This Life, Not Far Behind, Here Comes the Rain. You can find their music on the Wisteria Hall YouTube page. Hit that like and subscribe. Hear
Yeah.
them on Spotify,
Like.
or Apple Music, and
Subscribe.
Reverb Nation, or where music is sold. If you didn't know it, you are watching Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and Farrow. Catch Monty and Farrow on the YouTube page, Facebook Live page. Hear us on iHeartRadio,
Radio.
iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, and catch us on the Twitch TV Monty and Farrow page, and catch us on Channel 115 if you live in New York every Tuesday at 9:30 or Saturday at 11:30, where we go to head with a Saturday Night Live, and Channel 20 on Tuesdays at 1 a.m. Where over how many people are watching us weekly?
Over 102,000.
Man, 102.
Not bad.
Nice job.
Yeah, 6 figures.
And we want to thank Amazon Music for putting on Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast. And we'll be back because we know the fans are excited, along with our special guest, who I'm not going to tell you who it is.
And neither am I.
Good.
See you in a sec. That's right, folks. Canine Corral. For all your dog daycare and overnight care, call 631-549-1544. That's 631-549-1544. Elm Logistics. For all your logistic needs, call 631-299-3595. That's 631-299-3595. Elm Global Logistics. Pride, performance, and partnerships. Jeff Quest, graphics design, custom vinyl lettering, and all your art and video needs. 516-317-8204. That's for Jeff Quest, graphic design.
All right, welcome back to Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, where we have our special guest, our honor, Mr. Tito Santana in studio.
Arriba! There we go.
Oh, I love that. And for the fans, we were supposed to have Greg along with Tito in studio.
Greg the
but-
Hammer Valentine?
Greg the Hammer Valentine,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, Mr. Valentine's spouse
Yes.
came down ill
Yes.
the day of the event.
Yep.
And we just have Tito, which is fine with me.
We've got one of the greatest intercontinental champions. Is this the belt?
This is the belt.
Ever.
Tito once told me a story, right? Can you tell that story about the original Intercontinental belt that you trashed in your basement?
You did what?
It's to me, this was the most celebrated belt, the IC belt, the original from the beginning. And I defeated Greg the Hammer Valentine in a cage match, and then Valentine beat up the belt, bent it, kind of tore it apart. It was barely hanging together with the leather, the metal. I won the belt, so I kept it. And they ordered another belt, and I have a gym in my basement, and I threw the belt, on the gym floor, and it was in the same spot for about 10 years. And I finally, I would say, that's junk. I finally threw it away in the garbage. If I could kick myself in the butt, I would, but I can't.
Well, here's the thing. You told me that story, and I found out where you lived. I went in your garbage, and look what I found.
Yeah. What a yoke.
What are you thinking? What are you thinking? This is the belt.
How much
my
do you
God.
think? Just let's play hypotheticals. If you would have kept that belt
no, here
in
we
today's market, what you could have sold that belt for?
I would say a minimum of $50,000.
Minimum,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
God.
Could,
And your cat Muffy used to piddle on it in the basement? I mean, what are we talking here?
Well, no, because we didn't have any pets, so it was just me and my gym, and I just got tired of looking at it, and
Stupid old belt.
oh my God! But no, who was collecting wrestling
Right.
stuff back then?
Right.
Nobody
Right.
was collecting.
It took the route of a classic comic book and went right in the garbage. That's unbelievable.
thank God he didn't have the first Superman.
Yeah,
What is this crap? Throw this out.
He's close, though. He's got the Intercontinental title.
But in all
I mean,
seriousness, I got to be honest with you. This was the coolest belt ever,
Yeah.
man.
It was the coolest
That was
belt.
so
Yeah.
cool, that belt.
Yeah.
Like, who made the decision like, oh, we need a new belt. This thing's no good anymore.
Well, the decision was made by Greg Valentine that he.
Oh, he legitimately just decided he wanted to destroy it one day?
No. He destroyed it on his own. Nobody told him to destroy it. He destroyed.
He just destroyed it.
Valentine's not all there, even now.
wow.
So he just.
He did a shoot on the belt?
He did a shoot. He was upset because he lost the belt. I don't think he wanted to lose the belt, and he lost it. And he, that's what he wanted to hand over to me, and a piece of garbage. And they made a beautiful belt, but it never compared to this belt.
So were you like, hey, Greg, like in the locker room, like, yo, man, what are you doing? You just destroyed this. This is the best belt ever.
Well, and Greg says he kicks himself in the ass because he didn't keep the belt.
Yeah. You know what? The old champion could have kept, like, if they wanted to replace it, they gave it to Greg, and
Right.
that dude would have been cruising around with the green belt making lots of money.
Yeah, he would.
Wow.
Yeah.
So deep down, what'd you think of the new design? It was like, this thing's a piece of crap, or were you like,
Well, no.
maybe eventually I'll get the belt in my basement fixed, or?
At the moment, to be honest with you, that was a heavy belt. You could
Okay.
feel the weight on it, and it felt like a real belt.
Okay.
And the new belt had a different weight to it. It just it didn't seem like it was real compared to that one.
Fans are saying you look like you could wrestle today.
Well, I think I'm going to wrestle Saturday.
Here we go.
Are you kidding?
I haven't wrestled in about 2.5 years, but I'm going to strap the boots on one more time and
Really?
see what happens. I don't know. I
See
stay-
what
I stay-
happens. Wait a
I
minute.
stay in pretty good shape. I work out. I do my cardio and I lift pretty regular. But I haven't been in the ring, so I don't know how the body's going to hold up. But the
I'm
fans want to see me, and I'm gonna give it a shot.
I think you're going to do pretty well, actually.
Thank you.
So, first question. Greg was supposed to be here. This was one of our questions, so you're just going to have to answer it. Who was the better Intercontinental Champion?
Ooh, Tito or Greg?
Yeah.
Wow.
Without a doubt, Tito Santana.
There we go.
Wow.
He didn't even have
And
to think.
Tito puts himself over.
He should. He should. He was more athletic than Greg.
Wow.
He was. He was more exciting. He
The
was
man knows how to wrestle.
right.
Still.
Great matchup
And-
though,
and-
right? As
and-
far
and-
as
and what do you call it? Wrestling, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Greg was a fighter. Greg was like a pit bull. He was I'm not taking anything away from the guy. He was a fighter. He would keep coming at you, and if you didn't fight back, he'd eat you up.
is he like the perfect opponent for you in some ways because he's the opposite of your style?
I think he was, but I would get home at nights, and I would tell my wife, I've had easier street fights than matches with
Right.
Greg the Hammer Valentine.
Right.
I mean, we were bruised up, and he'll tell you himself. I mean, we used to beat the crap out of each other in the ring, and that's why the fans really bought into our feud that we had. We had the longest feud in the history of the WWF at the time, but it's because the fans, I had surgery on my knee. It was taped. It was shown to the fans, and then the matches that followed, the fans bought into the whole thing, and we used to give them a show and beat the crap out of each other, and they wouldn't get enough. They wanted to see, what was next.
Would you consider that one of the top 10 rivalries in the history of wrestling? Forget about the WWE history of wrestling.
I would say it's one of the top 10. I was a wrestling fan when I became a wrestler. Before I wasn't a wrestling fan, and I saw a lot of great matches, a lot of great feuds. Wahoo McDaniel had some great feuds. Chief Jake Strongbow had some great feuds. There was a lot of great feuds in professional wrestling, but I would put our feud on top of many others.
Would you say that Greg was the perfect opponent at the perfect time, all things considering? And whose idea was it to book you two together in the first place? Was it Vince?
Well, I guess everybody knows a lot of our business has been exposed. The person who really messed up my knee was Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
Ooh.
In Erie, Pennsylvania. And the next day, we were going to have a taping in Brentford, Ontario, and my knee popped, and Andre the Giant helped me get to my room because I couldn't walk on both legs. And I walked into the meeting room in Brentford, Ontario the next day with crutches, and I told Vince, I can't go. And I said, but if you want to do some kind of an angle, I can tape my knee up pretty good. And I said, I'd like to get something out of this injury. And that's when they knew that I was going to need a surgery. And they didn't trust Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff because he would lose it and he would tell everybody off. And, he was a different level.
But let me ask you on a personal basis, right? You're injured. You're like, hey, we'll do this gimmick where I lose. And like you said, they didn't want to go with Orndorff. But in your mind, were you thinking, man, Orndorff is really hot right now in the territory. I want to work with him. I can make a lot of cash feuding with Orndorff.
Oh yeah, I would have loved to have done some kind of a feud with Paul Orndorff because we had matches without us having a feud, and he got so much heat in the match that that was the only opponent I ever had where fans jumped into the ring.
Wow.
And jumped on Paul's back to help me out as he was getting heat on me and as I was selling. So it was a natural thing. We resembled it. We both looked like athletes. We used to go in there and just it was my match with Mr. Wonderful was a different type of match than I had with Greg the Hammer Valentine. With Mr. Wonderful, it was I would say 50 wrestling and then a fight in the ring. And with Valentine, I would say 80% fight and 20% wrestling. It was a different style. And I think at the time, the fans enjoyed the wrestling the most, but Valentine and I really clicked together, and we just and Greg will tell you we didn't go in. A lot of people would talk in the ring. Me and Greg would just go in there, and we just went at it. We didn't have to talk. We just entertained. Back then, they used to tell you learn. Mr. Fuji would tell me you learn timing and you listen to the people. The people will tell you what to do. And when I first started, I said, "What the hell is he talking about?" And when you become a pro and you become primed, you do get the ear, and the people will kind of guide you through the match if you're smart enough to hear them.
Do you think there's less and less of that nowadays, and it's more pre-planned choreograph?
I don't watch.
Okay.
The WWE. Not that I don't even know what channel, what time, when they come on. I just know that the talent, they have never had the chance. I when I first started wrestling, I remember even Greg Gagne told me, he says, you shouldn't throw a punch until you've been in the business like 5 years, because if you don't throw a good punch, it's people can tell. And I got to where I could throw a pretty good punch.
Oh, yeah.
I can throw a punch with my right to the nose, a punch with my right to the nose, to the teeth, without worrying. And there's nobody that's teaching them. I was in a battle royal, and Harley Race was there, and he grabbed me and he turned me around. He says, "Come here, kid." Says, you're gonna learn how to throw a punch today. So he turned me around and put himself in the corner. And he says, "Okay, hit me in the head." So I was scared to death to hit Harley Race.
Sure.
Because he was a killer.
Yeah.
And can you swear a little bit here?
Yeah,
You sure can.
So I threw the punch at him, and he says, "Lay it in, you pussy." and the art to me of throwing a good punch without it's the fact that you lose the fear of hurting somebody, and you feel the confidence. Okay, I'm going to throw the punch, and I don't have to worry if I hit him too hard. But it was a process of learning how to throw a punch. You start in the stomach, and then you start here in the neck, and then you work to the forehead, and then when you get to throw a punch to the nose and to the mouth, and there's not too many wrestlers who can do that without really hurting somebody. And Harley was one, and Ric Flair was one. I was one, and I had a lot of people that have told me that I threw the best punch, but there was I would say a dozen guys that were as good or better than me. I'm not going to say that I was the best, but I was very comfortable throwing a punch anywhere in the body.
Greg Valentine did not have soft hands. Is that safe to say?
Greg Valentine would lay him in. I mean,
I bet.
He'd hurt you.
I bet.
He'd potato you. But one thing about Greg, we used to say, you get a receipt. He'd hit you hard, and you could hit him as hard as you want. He never complained either.
How was the pay, if I can ask, for you and Valentine working together? Were you headlining B shows? I mean, how did they fit you in on the card, and how well were you guys compensated during that legendary feud, if I can ask?
Well, me and Valentine were the first feud that were selling out Madison Square Garden,
there you go,
Baltimore,
right there.
Washington, without Hulk Hogan.
That's an A show. He's selling out the Garden. That ain't no B show, right?
We
Right.
we were setting records ourselves. Detroit, we brought Detroit from $20,000 to $250,000.
Wow.
You
Whoa.
used to pay like
Right.
$5 to get in, so
Man.
you'd have $20,000 in Detroit. We built up Florida. I mean, I think we had like 6 return matches. Strep, leather strap matches. Tape fist matches, lumberjack matches. We had 1-hour matches. We wrestled for an hour. We went in Madison Square Garden. We had a no time limit because we went over the curfew, so they had to close down. The garden couldn't stay open after 11 o'clock, so they had to stop the match because we hit the curfew. So we went in the next match was they had to pay extra. No curfew match. I mean, we had, and we were main events. We were making good money, not anywhere near what the guys are making now.
Oh, right.
But at the time, it was pretty good money.
So how come they chose, being that feud was so hot, WrestleMania comes along, and they decide to put Junkyard Dog against Valentine and kind of have you do the run-in? I know you opened up and you were the guy that started the show.
Right.
How come they didn't decide to put that Intercontinental match together instead?
Well, I was pretty upset about that. But the card was so loaded. And at the time, there was only 2 or 3 pay-per-views at the time. So our match was so hot, they wanted to carry the match every week on the towns across the country. So if we would have had, because we'd have the same match in Miami, the same match in Detroit, the same match in LA, the same match, everywhere for about 2 months, and then we come back with the returns. So they would have wasted a whole loop of matches if they would have put one of the matches in the pay-per-views. And I think maybe, I don't know, Vince thinking and Pat Patterson and whoever else was there making the decisions. I don't really know the reason, to be honest with you. I wasn't in with the office that much.
In hindsight, then, the way you explain it, it probably makes more sense because you probably made more money then. I mean,
Yeah.
you got a really big payday in WrestleMania 1, but you were still touring with Valentine for another 6 months after that, maybe.
Right.
I'm not sure of the months, but
No, we were probably our feud went for about a year and a half.
yeah.
So the payoffs. The only person making big payoffs back then was Hulk. The rest of us weren't. Hulk wrestled. I think it was Bundy in WrestleMania.
WrestleMania 2 was Bundy.
WrestleMania 2 is the main event, and
Right.
and didn't make anywhere near the same amount of money that Hulk was making. Hulk, you got to give Hulk credit. Hulk was a good businessman, and he figured out how to deal with Vince, and he recognized his value in the company, and he did it. He did it his way.
Hogan, a cool guy in your book? You get along with Hogan back in the day?
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, Hogan was to me. We started in the same era. He was just a
remember.
little bit behind me.
You fought him at the Garden when he was with Blassie.
Right.
For God's sakes, I
Yeah.
remember these things. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we used to talk, and we used to help each other, and but I don't know if I told you the story. Sylvester Stallone sent, I think, 3 or 4 of the wrestlers, Gorilla Monsoon, I think Dino Bravo, Hulk, and maybe even Mr. Wonderful, a letter for the movie that Hulk was in, and Hulk was the only one that answered it. Nobody else answered it.
Oh, wow. So Stallone had invited others to possibly
Yeah,
try out, and they
right.
blew him off?
Yeah.
Why would they do that? Rocky, the franchise is already 2 films in it. It's a blockbuster.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
That's strange.
Hulk was the only.
Yeah, well, but it ended up getting Hulk fired from the WWF, right? Because Vince Sr. didn't
Right.
want him going
Senior-
into that movie, right?
Senior was against that.
And you guys didn't know, if you would
We
accept
flew
it
to-
or would did.
We flew to Japan together, Hulk and I, and he was telling me, he says, Vince wants me to dye my hair red. And this was, I don't know if Vince knew, I'm talking about Vince Sr.
Senior, yeah.
I don't know if Hulk had discussed this with Vince or what, but he says, I don't think I'm going to do it.
That would have been terrible.
Yeah. He says, I don't think I'm going to do it. And then, he gives his notice, goes and does the movie, and then he comes to
Vern.
Minnesota.
Yeah.
And they try to push him as a heel, and they gave him Johnny Valiant as his manager, and they were giving him going up against 2 baby faces when they brought him in on TV. And they tried hard to turn him into a heel, but the fans started. He looked so good.
The fans were having none of it.
and the fans just kept cheering him and cheering him. They sent Johnny home, and they didn't. They turned him babyface because and all of a sudden.
Poor Johnny Valiant. Then he had to become a comedian.
He was a comedian?
Well, after that career ended, yeah, he became a comedian.
Okay.
God bless him.
Tito,
Yeah.
why you're one of the all-time greats, right? You're one of the great technicians, right? You're just an all-time great pro wrestler.
You're a wrestler's wrestler.
Why does someone like you all of a sudden when you leave wrestling, you just don't like it anymore and you just stop watching? Why does that happen?
It's not that I don't like it anymore. Is that I'm a school teacher. I really enjoy what I'm doing now, I was a professional football player. Never made it big. But I wore the Kansas City uniform for a little while.
Nice.
And you still watch football, I'm assuming, right?
I love football.
Still love
I love
football.
baseball. I love all the. I grew up loving sports. I didn't grow up with wrestling because in South Texas it would come on at 11, so I wasn't a wrestling fan. So
But you're a wrestler, one of the greatest wrestlers ever. When did this start to happen that you stopped watching? Let's get to the bottom of this. Seriously.
well, I think the fact that it was such a grinding job of being on the road so many days a year, and
Okay.
affecting your family. You miss birthdays, you miss the anniversaries, you miss all holidays because we were entertaining people, and I don't know that I had, because I'm not bitter towards Vince or
Right.
or,
Did you
know,
just suffer burnout after all the years of being a wrestler? So it was like, I don't even want to watch it. Was it something like that?
Here's my question. I was thinking about this, right? You're in that documentary, 350 days, I think, right?
Yeah.
Look, I know you're married, you got children, I get the whole thing. But like when I think about it, I go, I don't know, what's so bad? I'm on the road, I'm hanging out with my friends, I'm drinking. Like I was thinking to myself, and say to me, Monty, shut up, you don't know what you're talking about. All I'm saying
Please.
is you're the great Tito Santana.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure every town you went into, you probably had to pay for your hotel room, but I bet if you went into restaurants, people were buying you your dinners, buying you your drinks. Yeah, I mean, just to get near you. I mean, I don't know. What's so bad about
Was that going on? That's
cruising
cool.
around, you know?
That sounds like a rock star, but that's what wrestlers sometimes are.
That was happening, and that's what happened to a lot of my friends. That got involved in drugs, started coming around, and
Right.
me coming from migrant workers and not having a lot of money, I just couldn't see spending money on drugs and partying and and I wasn't taking uppers and downers and this and that to keep you up in the ring. So I needed to get as much rest as I can. So I wasn't staying up partying, every night like it could have been. It could have been a party 7 days a week.
So you're this family man, kind of missing his family, and you're not doing the partying, so it kind of sucks. I get it.
Yeah, I would miss. I would miss my family. We were poor, but we were a close, tight family, and I wasn't having that in the business. I was making pretty good money, but being on the road. I remember me and Rick one time we were in Michigan, and we came back. We stayed by the airport in Detroit, New Year's Eve, and right at 12 o'clock, we both looked at each other, and we used to wear our white trunks, and we were cleaning our white trunks because the white trunks and the white knee pads, you had to wash them every night.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it'd be real hard to get rid of the dirt. And we say, oh, look at the superstars washing our trunks and our knee pads on New Year's Eve. Those were tough. It was tough being away from home, from your family. For a single guy, it was great.
Right.
It's a great business for a single guy, but once you start having a family and
So can I ask you about your wife? Can you tell us a little bit? Because it must take a special woman to be with someone that they don't see all the time. Can you share with the fans like what your wife means to you and what type of person she is?
well, it's I appreciate her a lot more as the years go by.
Sure.
And my son has a little baby right now, and I'm around, and I'm around watching the baby grow up, and we babysit the baby. She's like a year and a half, and we've been babysitting her for since she was a little bitty baby, and I see what my daughter-in-law went through to give birth, and the last few days, and early in the way she's watching my son and her and the baby, and seeing everything that I missed, you know, and it sucks. You
Yeah.
know, I missed a lot, and I now I know how much work. Like my wife didn't have me to help her. She has my son because my son's always at home, and you know, and they're always complaining about they need a break, they need help, they need this. Well, my wife did it on her own. It's not one time did she complain, and I, you know, that's why I said I appreciate her more because she was taking care of the family, and she knew that I was on the road bringing in the bacon, and that was tough.
But to your credit, you weren't out getting blasted. You were working and wishing you were home.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
And it had to be tough too, right? Good looking guy. You're doing all this traveling. You get the phone calls like, you better behave, you know, that type of stuff.
She never once.
Never once.
Yeah, she doesn't sound that
never
way.
once questioned me.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
You know,
cool. That is
she-
cool.
she-
You hit the jackpot there, big guy. You really
You did hit the
did.
jackpot. Congratulations.
You hit the
And,
jackpot.
and that's why I'm telling you that more and more I appreciate her more and more, you know, for who she was and what knowing what she went through, you know, without me being there.
Tito Santana, like 1980 through, I don't know, let's say like 92, 93, 94. How often was Tito Santana able to go home?
Well, that tape that you were looking at, 350 days a year, we were wrestling 350 days a year. I was living in New Jersey, and I had like a 350-mile radius. If I wrestled in Boston, I would drive to Boston, drive home after the matches, Baltimore, Washington, all over Buffalo. I drive home from Buffalo 360 miles just so I could sleep at home and wake up in the morning and see, you know, see my kids and my wife.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I flew, I was away, but it was only short little visits, you know.
Right.
Get home at 2 a.m, get up. I still worked out, and so I wasn't doing very much with my family, you know. It was,
Right, because you had to keep yourself in shape, right? So maybe it was even a little better when it was regional, when the WWF was regional and you were up
Right.
here. It was like, oh, this is much
Yeah.
better, right? But once they went worldwide, then it
Right.
became crazy, right?
yeah.
You know, you mentioned Rick Martell. Can you tell some stories about your relationship with Rick Martell and what kind of person he is?
Rick, to me, Rick was a man's man. You know, he, like the rest of us back then, we were all professional wrestlers, and we all went into the ring with the idea of, you know, I'm going to go in there to try to steal the show. And a lot of times, if they would put me in a good spot, I would make it difficult for the main event to follow my match. That was my goal. Rick was the same way, but everybody else was the same way. And everybody else could do, you know, if you got put in a good spot, everybody, you know, we had so many good workers that you could make it harder and harder for the next guy to follow you, you know, because we all knew how to control the fans. We all knew how to, you know, bring up the emotions of the fans, you know, up and down. But Rick was the same way, you know. We all got married about the same time, Hulk, me, Rick. And Rick was also, you know, cared about his family also. You know, he was a guy that kept to himself pretty much.
By the way, Tom Hood says Tito Santana versus Rick Martell, Saturday night's main event, 1989, was one of the best matches, Saturday night's main event lumberjack match. Do you remember that match?
Nope. No, but I do remember having some great matches with Rick. You know,
One of the lumberjacks got
So
him.
let me ask you then, when Savage comes aboard,
Oh.
Does he kind of change the industry a little bit because of his scripting things? And because again, I could be wrong, but the times you've been in, we've had discussions. It seems like you weren't the biggest fan of Savage, and I could be wrong. I'm wrong about 90% of things I say, but that's the feeling I got.
No, Randy came in to me as an opener, and I came in the same way because I learned how to work, in my opinion, when I started work when I did my first angle with Don Morocco. So I learned from a pro, and Randy was put into, his father owned the Kentucky Territory, I think. So he was always in charge, did what he wanted to do, but I don't think he was used to working with top guys day in and day out. So when he came in here, he came in, like I wrestled with Randy early when he first came in, and I remember in Detroit, the first time that I wrestled with him, I let him call the whole match. We hardly got any kind of a response from the fans. And I said, Randy, you're calling high spots. To me, that's the first and second bout. That's what they go out there and call spots. I said, this territory, they want to see a little bit of wrestling and they want to see a fight. This New York fans are a different breed. They're used to Bruno Sammartino. They're used to the big guys that used to kick butt in the ring. And I said, so it's a different style. And then, he would come up with 3 pages of notes of how he wanted to have the match. Well, that's not the way, a good worker would do it. A good worker would go, they'd give us the finish, and we had lived the rest of the match.
Why did you let him call the spots? Usually it's the other way around, where the veteran goes, hey, follow my lead.
No.
Did he ask you first, or was...
My neck is killing me.
Got any Advil?
His, maybe I have to turn this way.
Might be the couch.
The heel always
Calls the spots.
calls the match.
Okay.
And it's like if you're dancing, right? The male leads the dance and the woman follows.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you could say the heel was the male and the baby face would just follow. And he was a heel.
Right.
So
Even if he was greener, and
that's
even
what
if he
I'm
was
getting
new to
at.
this,
That is
right,
what I'm
right.
getting at, because I know that on an independent card, if John Schmagegi is going to wrestle a legend, I don't think he's calling it if he's the heel. So
Right.
I'm just curious, as you were in the, what year was this, please? The first time you got in the ring with Randy in the WWF?
Well, but you got to remember this. Randy had been in the business longer
Of
than
course.
I had.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm looking at WWF.
Right. No, Randy and I, we were together in Georgia in 1977.
Oh wow. Okay.
And he had been in the business already
Nice.
a couple of years.
Nice.
So
And he has a strong personality too, I would assume. So.
right. Yeah.
Right.
So the babyface always let the heel.
Gotcha.
When I got you're right. When I got more mature, like in the 80s and 90s,
Mm-hmm.
that the other wrestlers knew that I was already, primed,
Well-rounded.
and
Right.
So I had no problem interfering and says, no, we're going the wrong way. This is not the way we're going to go. And I could lead. I mean, they put me in with the Warlord, the Warrior, the Warrior. Those guys, I would lead the match.
Right.
The Warlord was so green.
Right.
They wanted me to help him out.
Right.
So what I would do with the Warlord, I'd call a spot, and I'd have him call it back because he was afraid to talk in the ring. So that's how I trained him, because and then he started getting better, and the Warlord's partner, the Barbarian.
Right.
The powers of pain.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know if I ever told you this, but the Barbarian was pretty green too, and we were in the ring with these guys were so powerful, they didn't really understand the business. They needed, so they put him with me so I could help him out.
Oh, lucky you. Okay.
Yeah.
Oy.
So I start the match.
Ow.
I start the match with the Warlord, and I grab his fist, his arm, and I'm twisting his fist, and I said, Barb, I said, grab the ropes. And so the referee would have to break the count.
Right.
And he says, "Oh no, Tito, that's chicken." And he didn't want to look weak.
Shut up and grab the rope.
And I said, "Barbarian,
He said some
that's the whole thing. This big guy with all these muscles,
Yeah.
that has to use the
Yeah.
rope."
Ow, 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 ow. Yeah, perfect.
And every time I see him, he laughs about it now.
Oh, my Lord.
He learns, But that's what we used to do. We used to teach each other.
Right.
And by that time, I was in a position where I could teach young big heels.
And getting to by that time, how deep into your career were you felt comfortable finally? Because I'm sure that there had to be a learning curve, and then one day, you must come to grips with, hey, I think I arrived. How deep into your career before you felt like, yeah, I know what I'm doing now?
Well, probably by the time that I had my feud with the beginning with Greg Valentine,
Right.
I had a feud in the AWA with Vern Gagne.
Okay.
I had my first feud there with the Sheik.
Okay.
It was a different Sheik, and I had a feud with Greg and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell, with me and Rick Martell as babyface teams.
Right.
Oh, so babyface against babyface.
Yeah, babyface.
How did that draw?
Really good.
Wow.
I mean,
Nice.
because the people we got over, me and Rick, we weren't Strikeforce, but we got over, and they wanted to see us beat Greg Gagne and Jumpin' Jim Brunzell.
Well, nobody likes tennis legs, but let's not get into that.
Did you laugh when you wrestled Gagne? Like, what am I doing?
No,
We always have fun with this, but
but one thing about Greg, he was a genius in the ring.
Was he?
The
I believe.
The guy had a great.
that I believe.
The guy knew how to work, and he was good.
He was pretty tall. Do you think he should have hit the gas a little bit, maybe? No, I'm serious. I mean,
Believe it or not, I think he did, but he just,
he hit the gas. What did he get? Unleaded?
Tito-
I mean,
Tito-
what are we
Tito's
talking
laugh-
about here?
Tito's laughing. He's like, there's not enough gas to fix those legs.
Stop. I did see him play Beyond Borg. It was an excellent
You know what?
match.
A lot of fans out there, I
Hey.
totally agree with them. Did the WWE or did WCW or anybody during the time said, we need this guy to train our guys?
Yeah.
Did anyone ever come to you?
And how come you're not in NXT right now training?
They did come. As a matter of fact, I think it was is it Stone Cold Steve Austin or somebody told me that they were using my matches to train the young wrestlers that were coming up to see
Wow.
baby faces to watch to see the way I used to sell.
Right.
They would
Right.
use my matches. They tried to get me to come back. They tried to get me to be an agent. When I was done being on the road. I had been in the business for I guess 17 years, and I had a family, and I just didn't want to be on the road anymore. I had an opportunity to go to Georgia wrestling. I just didn't want to.
How did
Enough
things?
was enough for me.
I could believe it. How did things turn out with you and Vince? Like, if you and Vince ran into each other today, would there be a hug or a cordial handshake? I mean, where did you and Vince
there
leave?
would probably be a hug.
Nice.
They brought me in to do a Saturday night live or something. I don't know if you guys remember when Alberto Del Rio
Yeah.
came in, and I introduced him in the ring, and I was just, I had never seen this, but the guys are going over their matches in the ring. Before, we never used to do that. And they were going over their matches, and I'm watching, and Vince walked up to me, and he says, you and I do the same thing. He says, I teach here, and now you're a teacher. And I said, yeah, Vince. I said, the only difference between you and I is that I get to go home, every day, early in the day and spend time with my family. And I don't know if I said things to Vince that he didn't really, appreciate, the truth, right?
Right.
We were both teachers, but mine is a lot different.
Sure.
I'm with my family. I get to go home, and I teach the kids, and I go home. his job is 24 hours a day because, I mean, he had to worry about how the guys were behaving on the road too. 'Cause,
Right.
Sure.
You know,
Sure.
If if say Vince passed and they asked you to please say some things about Vince McMahon, what would Tito Santana tell people about Vince McMahon, the person?
Vince McMahon, to me, he always treated me good. You know, I would say Vince is a great businessman. He has the ability to make you feel like you're the most important person in the world as long as he puts you in the pedestal to draw him some money because he's the one who decides who's going to be a star. So, you know, as long as you're making him money, he is going to make you feel like you're the most, like he used to, I saw him, you know, greet The Rock when I went back in 2004. I would see the way he would treat Hulk, and he would treat me whenever he would talk to me, he would make you feel like, so I knew, but when my reign was over and I knew it was over in New York, it was hard to get a word in with him, but it's not because he was ignoring me, it's because he moved on to the next group of guys that he was going to be drawing money with, you know, not that he was ignoring me or anybody else, you know, he was a businessman, you know, he was making his first stringers, you know, feel good, you know.
I've never really heard this much about Vince. You're telling me he's a master motivator.
He's a master motivator.
You never hear this about Vince McMahon, really. That's awesome to me.
He's you know, I remember when Vince first took over, and all the old veterans would say, "This guy doesn't have it." And right, I was still pretty green. That's when I first just got in 1983, and I thought to myself, "He does have it." You know, I never told that to anybody else because I was a young guy, but I saw that. You know, I saw the picture right away of, you know, how he treated guys and you know, I thought he was a lot smarter than a lot of people gave him credit, you know. You know, he started out as setting up the rings and, you know, announcer, and
He was a great announcer.
yeah, I mean,
Quite honestly.
he learned it.
I thought he was.
He learned the whole business
Yeah.
from the bottom.
And you know, it's a really good point. Like, he doesn't get enough credit for his announcing.
He doesn't.
He was a
great
very good announcer.
I thought he was great. I loved him. I thought he was great.
All right, Tito, we're almost out of time. We're going to get you out of here. We're going to hit you with the Pharaoh's final question. Again, I want to thank you for joining our show as usual. We consider you a very good friend of the show, and you're a wonderful human being, and you're a prime example of how people, like, if they have their head on right, have this good life for sure, right?
For sure.
So the Pharaoh's final question, Tito, I have no idea what he's going to say, but good luck. It could be ridiculous. I have no idea.
It usually is ridiculous. I'm going to throw this one out of left field because that's where I come from. Okay, we usually do Mount Rushmores, okay? Or at least a lot of the times we'll ask a Mount Rushmore. Name me 4 of the greatest wrestlers in your opinion. But considering you are one of the greatest Latino wrestlers of all time, can you give me the Latino professional wrestling version? Give me the 4 greatest, in your opinion, Spanish superstars that have graced the ring over the years.
Well, when I first got started, Jose Lothario was
Jose Lothario.
one of the wrestlers
Okay.
in Texas to me who was over with the Mexicans big time.
Okay.
I saw Chavo Guerrero, the father, when I was just starting to train in 1977, and I was so impressed. I thought he had so much charisma, and I saw him very professional, dressed in the suit, going into the arena. Mil Máscaras,
There we go.
to me was a.
I was waiting for Mascaras.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
Can
in my era,
Still got one to go, though.
I know, but can I just ask you about Mascaras? Did you know him well at all?
I didn't know him. I didn't know him well, And I remember as a kid going into a Mexican theater in Mission, and he was in some of the movies that I saw him in. And then when I first started wrestling in 1977, he was wrestling in San Antonio, and I was driving, and you know, I was just a referee. You know, I wasn't wrestling yet, and I refereed one of his matches, and he got to ride in my car. I drove him from San Antonio to Houston, and in the locker room, I saw him take one mask off to take a shower, and he had another mask on. So I said, "This guy doesn't. This guy doesn't even show the face in the
What is he,
locker room."
shampooed a mask? I mean, his hair must have been crusty as all can
Wait,
be.
hold on. You got to give me this picture. So he's taking. Was he also eating in his mask too, like having
Would
a
he eat
sandwich?
like a sandwich, a big sloppy hero
No,
with the mask
But
on?
let me tell you, back
So
then
why
I
not?
used to hear that guys that wore a mask were usually guys that were not really good looking. Guys.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
yeah.
then we get in the car.
But he was normal looking?
and we get it. Well, let me finish the story.
Okay.
We get in
I'm
the
jumping
car.
ahead.
Back then, the wrestlers would always go. The first thing we'd do, we stop and pick up a 6-pack of beer. Each one of us would get
Okay.
our own 6-pack of beer, and we'd drink. And we went into the bar, into the place to pick up the beer, still wearing the mask. And when we finally left town, he took the mask off, and he was sitting in the right up there in front with me. And I looked, and I said, "Man, this is not a good-looking guy." I said, "Why in the hell is he wearing the mask?" You know, in professional wrestling. But he would give me some good advice, you know, and like I never realized, and I found it out later that, like, my competition, or I was Chavo's competition, I was Mil Máscara's competition, I was Lothario's competition. And after a little while, those guys started treating me a little different. You know.
Right.
So then they realized this kid here
He's
is
good.
going to be the one that's because you know
Right.
there was a top Latino, right? You know, and I think at one point I was the top Latino.
Oh, you were.
in the business.
You are correct. You are correct.
You-
You succeeded Mascaris, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah.
Unless I missed something.
I would say without a doubt. I mean, if I was just to choose, I would say probably you and Rey Mysterio Jr. and Eddie Guerrero would be
That's
the top
right off the
three
bat. And you can put
greatest.
Mill right there,
And,
too.
well, to
I
be
mean,
fair, I
you
would.
know.
I always felt like you were the younger replacement for the great Pedro Morales.
Interesting.
And you
That's true,
carried
too.
that torch
Oh,
for
my
a
Lord.
very long time.
For sure.
Again, it's funny how life
Yep.
is weird, right? I was a Morocco fan. I think we spoke about this when you beat
Right.
him. I was really upset. Blah blah blah. But now I'm talking to you, and then Morocco is one of the great talkers of all time.
Yeah.
And now you've been on the show a few times. You are entertaining. I could listen to you all day. But on the other hand, Morocco has his own podcast. I'm like, man, this guy, he's got a personality of a wet mop.
But I think
Easy
I
for
told
him
you
to
guys
say.
in 2004 when I got inducted into the Hall of Fame, and Eddie Guerrero came up to me and thanked me for
Yeah.
opening the door for the Latinos in New York. You know, to me that made me feel
There you go.
really, really good.
There you go. Are you putting yourself as the fourth on the Mount Rushmore for Latino?
Yes.
There we go.
Without a doubt.
That rounds it out.
So
Very nice.
the life of you, great wrestler, great football player, teaching today's youth and growing this country, and you're responsible for some of the greatest wrestlers because of you and your talent.
In his style.
You should be pretty proud of yourself,
Sure.
my friend, for sure.
Thank you.
One last question, and then we'll just call it a day.
Okay.
Kansas City Chiefs, were you on the same squad as the great Butch Reed?
No, he came a year after I did. Yeah.
Who was quarterback for the Chiefs back then? I'm trying to get a time frame here.
Well, Lenny Dawson was still there.
Len Dawson. Woo!
Yeah.
Damn. He had a ring and everything.
Yeah.
There you go.
He was very nice to me, you know. Lenny Dawson. Yeah, I was a free agent. Like I said, I wasn't a big superstar. Before I went to, when I got there to camp, I had injured my ankle and I didn't tell anybody. I ran a real slow 40. I ran like a 5.1 and I could run a 4.8. Once in a while, hit 4.7. And when I got cut, the head coach told me that I was very slow, but it was too late.
Right.
I never
Right.
said, can you please time my 40 again? But I knew I could play, and then I went to Canada and played for the BC Lions. And after the following year, they wanted me to come back to Kansas City and do it again. And I said, no, I was the only tight end with the BC Lions. So I said, no, I'm going to stay here. But by that time, I was thinking of wrestling already. So,
And glad you did.
yeah.
Because
Sure.
you changed the
Well, was that
wrestling
the right
world,
choice?
and think of
Yeah.
all the millions of fans because of you. Anyway, I want to thank the great Tito Santana.
Absolutely.
Want to announce some
Thank you,
upcoming
Tito.
shows. Next Thursday, we have Mr. Abdul the Butcher making his return.
Wait. Here in the store?
No, he'll be doing a
So we're safe.
Mix,
He's gonna
yeah.
Okay, we're safe. Okay, good. You got to keep your hands and feet away from his mouth. That fork of his. Go ahead.
and then we have a regular show Thursday, and then on May 6th we have a marathon. Tell me about some of these guys as I go off. Just give me your opinion on them. Tommy Rich, he'll be in studio.
Wildfire.
Wildfire.
He was my roommate.
Tommy Rich was your roommate. How long did that last?
He was my roommate. There was a year that I don't remember too much about.
Did you, not to be dirty, but we
That's
found out
Wildfire.
when Missy Hyatt was here that
did
was
you?
her first blowjob.
Would you-
Was Tommy Rich.
Oh no, I don't know.
Now that you've learned, now that
just
you've
sharing
learned,
some historical data.
now that you've
with you,
learned that,
Mr.
Tito, what are you going to
Santana.
do with that
Just
information?
sharing,
It's
just
like-
sharing,
So
just sharing.
Missy's was bragging, I guess.
Yes, she was bragging. Yes, she was. Coco Beware.
Spark plug.
Nice. The Conquistadors.
Oh,
Jose Luis Rivera and Jose Estrada.
I love Jose Estrada.
Very, very underrated, underused.
Nice.
A lot of talent that was overlooked.
And besides you, one of my all-time favorites will be in studio.
Oh, here we go.
Jesse the Body Ventura.
There's a man who could get the most out of nothing. I was playing a video to somebody that I saw on Facebook that he was talking to one-man gang and another guy doing the interview. And he says, Tito and I were wrestling in Denver, Colorado, and 10 minutes had gone by, and we hadn't touched each other, and the people were ready to come in and kill him. You know, he would get the most out of nothing, he said. And then I think he was trying to talk to Mankind. He says, why beat your body up if you don't have to, if you can get the people, you know, so
Right.
hot and bothered
Right.
just by what you do in the ring. And he was a master. You know, he could get the most out of nothing. He could wrestle a broom and get the people to come and want to kill him.
Leave that broom alone.
On a personal basis, I love Jesse Ventura, the wrestler, and I really did love Adrian Adonis and Jesse. Even though we were from here, I would read about the East-West connection.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
did you get a chance to wrestle them when you were in the AWA by any chance?
I believe me and Bruno Sammartino wrestled Adrian and Jesse here in Long Island.
What? At the Comac Arena?
Yes.
What the fuck? Where the F were we?
Tito, I wish I would have known.
Was that when we discovered booze and girls?
Oh, my God.
How the heck did we miss this?
I want to go back in time
What?
right now.
What year was this, please? Oh,
No, it's got to be 83, right? 83, 84 or something, I think. right?
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. How dare us miss that match?
Anyway, Tito, got to tell you again, you mean the world to us. You're a great man, and I thank you again for supporting the show, and I thank you for
Thanks,
coming
man.
on.
Thank you.
I want to thank the fans who loyally join us every Thursday,
Yeah.
and we've got some really great shows ahead. I hope Mr. Santana entertained you and answered some of the questions you were looking for. He is always very entertaining, unlike Don Morocco. Anyway, with that,
Well, maybe. I don't know.
this is Mike Monty.
This is a very, very not bored Pharaoh. And until next time, thank you, Tito. We love you.
Thank you.
Later, everybody.